Take a moment now to find a comfortable seat. Gently close your eyes and begin to notice your breath. In Zen, there is a teaching that emphasizes the delicate balance between work and rest. Just as the sun rises and sets, as the moon waxes and wanes, so too does the energy of work and rest flow in cycles. Zen invites us to live in harmony with these cycles, to embrace both action and stillness, knowing that each is necessary for our well-being. The idea of right effort is not about overexertion or pushing ourselves beyond our limits, but about moving with intention, with awareness, and with respect for our own rhythms. Right effort is not about doing more, but about doing what is necessary and doing it fully. It is about showing up for the task at hand with presence, without the attachment to the outcome. Whether you are cleaning your home, writing an email, or having a conversation, let your focus be on the task itself rather than the results. When you approach your work with mindfulness, the work becomes sacred. It is no longer a burden, but a practice, a way of being fully engaged with the present moment. You are no longer working because you should, but because you are choosing to engage with the world as it is, without attachment, without resistance. But just as important as the work itself is the ability to rest. We live in a world that often tells us that we must be constantly productive, that we must always be achieving, always moving forward. Yet Zen teaches us that rest is not a luxury. It is an essential part of the process. Just as the earth needs time to rest in the winter before the spring, so too do we need our moments of stillness to replenish our energy, to renew ourselves, and to reconnect with the source of our being. Take a moment to reflect. When you rest, do you truly allow yourself to rest? Or do you feel guilty for not doing something productive? Do you carry the weight of unfinished tasks in your mind, even while you're trying to relax? Zen invites us to rest without guilt, to honor the need for rest as part of the natural cycle of life. Rest is not a time of idleness, but a time of renewal. When we rest, we give ourselves the space to heal, to recharge, and to come back to life with a fresh perspective. Imagine yourself as a tree. There are times in the year when the tree is in full bloom, reaching towards the sky, growing, expanding. But there are also times when the tree seems to stand still, its branches bare, its energy focused inward. In the winter months, the tree rests. It does not feel guilty for not growing. It does not question its worth. It simply rests, knowing that the period of stillness is as necessary as the period of growth. The tree knows that both rest and action are essential to its life cycle. So too, we must understand that rest is just as valuable as work. When you approach work, do so with full presence. There is a tendency, especially in our modern world, to rush through tasks, to check items off a list, to focus only on the outcome. But Zen teaches us that true productivity is not measured by the number of tasks completed, but by the quality of attention we bring to each task. When you work with mindfulness, each action becomes an offering, an expression of your true nature. The task at hand becomes an opportunity for growth, for learning, for being present with the moment. But in the same way, when you rest, do so with full presence as well. Rest is not a time to check your phone or to think about all the things you should be doing. Rest is a time to fully surrender, to be with yourself, to allow your mind to settle and your body to restore. When you rest with full presence, you honor your body, your mind, and your spirit. You give yourself permission to simply be you, without the pressure to achieve, without the need to prove anything to anyone. Think about the ebb and flow of the ocean. At times, the ocean is calm, its surface still and peaceful. But at other times, the waves crash against the shore, full of energy and motion. Both are necessary. Both are part of the same ocean. The stillness allows for renewal, and the movement allows for expression. So too in our lives, we must learn to embrace both the stillness of rest and the movement of work. Without both, we are incomplete. We are like a tree that never rests, or an ocean that never calms. Balance is the key to true well-being. As you continue to breathe, feel the rhythm of your breath. Inhale and exhale. Just as you breathe in, you must also exhale. Inhale to bring energy into your body, and exhale to release what no longer serves you. In the same way, in life, you must both work and rest. Work brings energy. Rest brings renewal. You cannot have one without the other. It is the balance between these two that creates harmony in your life. Reflect now on your own life. How do you approach your work? But through mindfulness and compassion, you can transform your relationship with anxiety. You can begin to let it pass through you without allowing it to control you. Zen teaches us that the mind is like water. It can become murky with thoughts and emotions, but with time and patience, it can become clear again. Anxiety, in many ways, is like the murky water of the mind. It clouds our vision and makes it difficult to see the present clearly. But with mindfulness, patience, and compassion, we can allow the water to settle, returning to clarity. It's important to remember that the practice is not about perfection, but presence. There is no need to be free of anxiety. To be a good practitioner of Zen, you simply need to be present with it, to let it be as it is, and to be with yourself in those moments. So, if you're struggling with anxiety, pay attention to the two signs. First, the disconnection from the present moment. And second, the way you treat yourself in those moments. By returning to the present with mindfulness and embracing yourself with compassion, you can start to transform your relationship with anxiety. The practice of Zen is not about eliminating emotions, but about learning to be with them fully, without attachment. Through this practice, you can begin to experience a deeper sense of peace and presence in your life. Remember, the journey is not about perfection, but about progress. Every time you return to the present moment or extend compassion to yourself, you are cultivating the wisdom and peace that Zen teaches. Trust that with time, patience, and practice, anxiety will lose its grip, and you will be able to move through life with greater ease and presence. As we continue, it's essential to recognize that Zen practice isn't about avoiding or suppressing feelings like anxiety. The goal is not to get rid of these feelings, but to transform our relationship with them. Zen teachings emphasize that all emotions, even the most difficult ones, are part of the human experience. They arise, they stay for a while, and they pass. Nothing lasts forever. The moment we realize that emotions like anxiety are transient, we begin to see them differently. Instead of battling them, we can choose to observe them, acknowledging their presence with acceptance and understanding. Consider how the Buddha taught about suffering, or dukkha, which is a central tenet in Buddhist philosophy. Suffering is inherent in life, but it is also something we can understand, embrace, and transform. Anxiety, in many ways, is a form of suffering. It arises when we become attached to fears about the future or regrets about the past. But Zen wisdom teaches us that by acknowledging the impermanent nature of both our thoughts and feelings, we can soften our attachment to them. We do not need to cling to anxiety, nor do we need to suppress it. We simply need to allow it to flow through us without holding on to it or allowing it to define us. The first sign we mentioned earlier, disconnection from the present moment, can often be triggered by trying to escape from anxiety or resist it. Trying to avoid anxiety only strengthens it. We often think that we need to push it away or distract ourselves, but Zen teaches us that resistance is a form of attachment. When we resist anxiety, we invest more energy into it, and it only grows stronger. What we resist persists. Instead, Zen offers a path of acceptance, not of anxiety itself, but of the experience of it. When we can stop fighting the anxiety, we stop feeding it. This doesn't mean that the anxiety will disappear immediately. It may not, but it will become less intense, less overwhelming. We give it space to be, and in that space, it begins to lose its power over us. The second sign, how we treat ourselves when anxiety arises, is also incredibly important. Self-compassion is one of the most healing practices in Zen. When anxiety arises, we often fall into self-criticism, telling ourselves that we should be stronger, braver, or more in control. But Zen reminds us that we are human. We are imperfect, and that is okay. The teachings of Zen invite us to stop the cycle of judgment and instead replace it with kindness. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love and kindness. You don't need to have it all together to be at peace. In moments of anxiety, offer yourself the same compassion you would offer a friend. This simple act of kindness can shift the energy of anxiety, making it more bearable and less consuming. To truly understand Zen's perspective on emotions and anxiety, we need to return to the core principle of Zen: mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing our full attention to the present moment, to the sensations, thoughts, and emotions that are happening now. Mindfulness is the antidote to anxiety. When we practice mindfulness, we train ourselves to observe our thoughts and emotions with clarity, without getting swept away by them. When we are mindful, we see our anxiety for what it is, just a thought or feeling passing through our minds, not an immutable truth about who we are. We can watch it arise, notice its presence, and then let it go. This practice of non-attachment is liberating. It helps us to disengage from the stories we tell ourselves about our anxiety and to return to a place of calm and balance. It's important to remember that Zen is about small, consistent practices. It's not about making a dramatic change overnight, but rather integrating mindfulness into your daily life. In Zen, every moment is an opportunity for practice. You can practice mindfulness while eating, walking, washing dishes, or even during a difficult conversation. The key is to stay present, to stay aware, and to stay gentle with yourself. When you notice anxiety creeping in, instead of judging it or yourself, simply acknowledge it with kindness. Say to yourself, "This is what I'm feeling right now, and that's okay." The act of acknowledging your emotions without judgment is an incredibly powerful way to disarm their power over you. Zen also teaches us to recognize the impermanence of everything. Nothing is permanent, not even our feelings of anxiety. When we recognize this truth, we begin to loosen the grip that anxiety has on us. Anxiety cannot last forever. Just like any feeling, it will change and pass. But this process takes time. During those moments, it's important to practice patience. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling without rushing to make it go away. The practice of patience is deeply connected to mindfulness. When we are patient with ourselves, we stop demanding immediate relief, and we create space for the anxiety to resolve in its own time. There will be days when anxiety feels more intense, and there will be moments when it feels like it's too much to bear. During these moments, lean into your Zen practice. Use your breath as an anchor. Let each inhale and exhale be a reminder that the present moment is all you ever have. If your thoughts pull you into the past or the future, gently return to your breath. If the anxiety feels overwhelming, let it be a signal to practice self-compassion. Acknowledge it, but don't identify with it. You are not your anxiety. You are the observer of your thoughts and emotions, and by recognizing this, you can create a space where anxiety has less control over you. Zen teaches us to see our emotions, including anxiety, as teachers. Each feeling, no matter how uncomfortable, has something to teach us. Anxiety often arises because we feel disconnected from the present, from ourselves, or from others. It may also stem from a fear of the unknown or a worry about the future. By observing these patterns, we gain insight into what is triggering our anxiety. This understanding allows us to respond with more wisdom and less fear. The more we understand our anxiety, the less power it has over us. Through mindfulness and self-compassion, we can gradually build a relationship with anxiety that is grounded in acceptance rather than fear. As we move forward, remember that Zen is not a destination, but a continuous practice. You will not become anxiety-free overnight, but with mindfulness, patience, and compassion, you will find that anxiety holds less power over you. In time, you will begin to experience more peace, more clarity, and more presence. And in those moments of calm, you will see that your Zen practice has allowed you to create a space of stillness, no matter what emotions arise. Now that we've explored the concept of anxiety, from a Zen perspective, it's important to recognize the signs that indicate you might be struggling with anxiety. Anxiety is often subtle at first, gradually creeping into our thoughts and behaviors. Yet, it manifests in clear ways that we can recognize. From a Zen viewpoint, acknowledging these signs is the first step toward releasing the anxiety's grip and returning to the present moment. In this section, we'll discuss two key signs that may suggest you're dealing with anxiety and how you can address them with Zen teachings. Sign number 1. A constant sense of disconnection. First sign that you may be struggling with anxiety is a persistent sense of disconnection. Anxiety often pulls us out of the present moment and makes us feel as though we are detached from our surroundings, from others, and even from ourselves. This disconnection is one of the most noticeable signs of anxiety, and it may manifest in several ways. Feeling out of touch with the world around you. In the midst of anxiety, you may feel like you're living in a fog, unable to fully experience or appreciate the present moment. Things that once brought you joy might no longer feel significant, and interactions with others may feel distant or strained. Being disconnected from your body. Anxiety can cause physical symptoms such as tightness, restlessness, or an inability to relax. If you're frequently dissociated from your physical sensations, it's a sign that anxiety is likely present. Losing touch with your emotions. Anxiety can make us feel numb or overwhelmed by our feelings. In some cases, it's so overwhelming that we shut down emotionally and mentally, not knowing how to engage with or process our own emotions. In Zen practice, being disconnected from the present moment is a key indicator that we are caught up in our thoughts and emotions. Zen teaches that mindfulness is the practice of returning to the present moment with full awareness. Anxiety thrives when we are not fully aware of our present experience because it distracts us with worries about the past or fears of the future. Therefore, when you begin to feel disconnected, this is a sign to return to the practice of mindfulness. Zen encourages us to focus on our breath and body to reconnect with the present. By observing our thoughts without judgment, we can start to release the grip that anxiety has over us. The practice of coming back to the present moment, whether through breath awareness or a simple action like walking or eating, can anchor us when we feel disconnected. Sign number 2. Self-criticism and excessive worrying. The second sign that you may be struggling with anxiety is persistent self-criticism and excessive worrying. Anxiety often feeds on negative self-talk, where we constantly criticize ourselves for our perceived inadequacies. When we worry excessively, our mind spirals into an endless cycle of what-ifs and imagined worst-case scenarios. This type of thinking is often exacerbated by a belief that we should be better or stronger than we are, creating even more anxiety in the process. Some examples of how this self-criticism and excessive worrying may appear include constantly worrying about the future. Anxiety often involves an overwhelming focus on what might happen in the future, things that are outside of our control. This constant worrying can lead to a feeling of paralysis, where we are too afraid to take action or make decisions. Engaging in negative self-talk. When anxiety takes hold, we may tell ourselves things like, "I'm not good enough," "I'll never succeed," or "I'm a failure." These negative thoughts reinforce feelings of inadequacy and deepen our anxiety. Perfectionism and fear of making mistakes. Anxiety often ties itself to perfectionism, where we feel the need to get everything just right. The fear of making mistakes can become paralyzing, leading us to avoid taking action or becoming overly critical of ourselves when we do. In Zen, self-criticism is a form of attachment. We become attached to an image of ourselves that we feel we need to live up to. When we experience anxiety, we get caught up in these self-imposed expectations, creating more suffering for ourselves. The teachings of Zen encourage us to practice non-judgment and compassion, both towards ourselves and others. Rather than criticizing ourselves for being anxious or imperfect, we are taught to embrace our flaws with kindness. Zen reminds us that we don't need to be perfect to be worthy of peace. The practice of self-compassion is essential for overcoming anxiety. When we acknowledge our anxieties with understanding, rather than shame or judgment, we open the door to healing. Zen practitioners are encouraged to let go of perfectionism and to embrace the beauty of impermanence and imperfection. This practice can dissolve the grip of excessive worry and self-criticism, replacing it with a sense of acceptance and peace. Now that we've identified the 2 signs of anxiety, disconnection and self-criticism, it's important to explore how Zen teachings can help you navigate these challenges. As we've seen, Zen offers simple, profound practices that help us re-engage with the present moment and develop a deeper sense of self-compassion. Here are some ways Zen can help. Mindfulness of breath. The breath is always with us, and it is the most immediate way to return to the present. By practicing mindful breathing, we shift our focus away from anxious thoughts and bring our awareness back to our body. Simply breathing in and out with awareness can help reduce the feelings of disconnection and anxiety. Meditation. Zen meditation, or Zazen, is a powerful tool for cultivating inner stillness and clarity. When we meditate, we create space between ourselves and our anxious thoughts. We observe them without attachment, allowing them to rise and pass without getting caught up in them. Self-compassion. Zen teaches us to be kind to ourselves, even when we are feeling vulnerable or anxious. When you notice self-criticism creeping in, gently bring yourself back to a place of compassion. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to a friend who is struggling. Accepting imperfection. Zen philosophy reminds us that life is inherently imperfect, and that includes our emotions. Anxiety, like all emotions, is impermanent. By accepting that we are not meant to be perfect, we allow ourselves to relax and embrace the ebb and flow of life without resistance. In conclusion, when you're struggling with anxiety, the two signs to pay attention to are disconnection from the present moment and excessive self-criticism. These signs indicate that your mind is caught in the past or future, or that you are trapped in negative self-talk. Zen teachings offer powerful tools to address these signs: mindfulness, meditation, self-compassion, and acceptance of imperfection. By cultivating these practices, you can begin to untangle the grip of anxiety and return to a place of peace and presence. If this message resonates, subscribe for daily Zen reflections and guided wisdom to help you reconnect, reflect, and become fully yourself. Until then, remember, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf.